Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are here this evening to do what we do best, discuss issues of our concern. Um, Tonight we'll be talking a little bit about the protest this Friday coming up in New York, hosted by Mr. Rattigan himself and Dr. Rupert Francis. I know there are many others that are involved, but I
Check 5 4 3 2
just to
1.
mention a few. We will have also Yvonne Nemard and Dr. Paul Ivy will be with us as well as Dr. Rupert Francis. But it's very important that we point out that this is a non-partisan platform. We have no intent uh, to embarrass the government in any way, shape, or form. We're just here to discuss issues of our concern. We also want to talk a little bit about educating our kids out of crime. Ivan will talk strongly, as we spoke already, about she think that we should even start at the primary level or even before, because they think that's the source. But I am gonna ask you guys to just like, share, and subscribe to this platform. And with no further ado, we're gonna meet our panelists now. Good evening, gentle people. Dr. Paul Ivy, how you doing, sir?
Greetings, Mr. Sutherland. I'm very well, and I'm happy to be here with your fellow panelists.
Yes,
Could
sir.
I just quickly say as well that I'm here in my personal capacity as a citizen, active and engaged citizen with an interest in the affairs of my country, and the views that I express are my own and do not reflect those of my employers.
All right, thank you for that, sir. Sir Rattigan, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me, Soda. Good evening to lovely audience out there, as well as my fellow panelist, Dr. Paul Ivy. It's great seeing you again.
Same
And
here, Mr.
I
Rattigan.
speak for myself, and I speak for my employer, and my employer is me. So, and
Okay.
Miss Yvonne Nemhard, good evening to you. Dr. Francis,
Hey,
yes,
brother. How are you doing? How are
yes.
you
We're joined at the hips, man. I mean, we've been doing program after program after
I'm telling
program.
you. The
I,
only,
I,
only thing I need is your backdrop. Dr. Paul Ivy, Mr. Man, how
Greetings,
are you?
Dr. Francis. I'm well, thank you. Good to be here again
Wonderful,
with you.
wonderful, 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 wonderful.
Miss Nemad is freezing up. I think Miss Nemad should use her phone as because the phone works much better. So people are saying hi to you. The panelists are saying hi to you, but you're not hearing to respond. So I think you should try the phone, Miss Menard. Nemard. I have a problem. But anyways, let us just dig straight into it. There is a protest this Friday coming up, and I would want to hear from Dr. Francis what is gonna take place and where. Dr. Francis, could you give us some information as to this Friday's event?
Certainly. Good evening again, everyone. It's nice to be on the program once more. And I want to, especially the listeners, those persons who have been here all the time, I want to say hello, and it's good to be back here with Dennis. Dennis, well, I don't know, everybody should be aware that we had promised a second protest,
Okay.
and very soon after the Florida protest. And this would take place in New York, in the wonderful town of Manhattan, New York, and at the embassy, Jamaican embassy there, and that will be on Friday at between 9 a.m. to 1 or 10 a.m. to 1. I'm not really sure which one, which 10 a.m. to 1 or 9 a.m. to 1, but I know it's 3 hours. Okay?
Right.
Okay?
Right.
Mr. Nemadi have to come up, one of them.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to kick her off one.
Yeah, I'm leaving one.
Yeah, okay, go ahead and leave one. Okay, yes, Dr. Francis.
Yeah, so therefore, anyway, and we have been spreading the news around the country, overseas, and all that sort of thing. People are coming from far and wide. Jamaica, possibly. I know definitely UK and Canada and right throughout the United States. We're hoping to see a very good crowd of persons, supporters, so to speak. And the whole purpose is not to have a peaceful demonstration without incident. In Manhattan, we don't, believe in that. We had one before, and we plan to have one again. And we have a treasure trove of speakers, myself included, Will Rattigan, many Jamaica Carlos, many people. Yourself should be will be there. Many people. So you are going to hear the information firsthand. I want to clear up a few things that have kind of people try to tarnish and say this is a political event. It's not a political event. We're not talking about anything political apart from things that are occurring in our nation. We're also going to talk about the fact that Jamaica is we have Jamaicans in Jamaica, we have Jamaicans in the diaspora in various countries. And we are asserting our right to be autonomous, meaning that we'll work with Jamaica as best of building brand Jamaica, not destroying it. And therefore we also raise the spectrum of dialogue. And of course, instead of dialogue, we've gotten some nasty responses. And I say nasty because it is. And it's really unfortunate that they did that. And they attack, and instead of trying to find solutions, they have attacked myself personally. Mr. Rattigan, we seem to be the number one prey in this whole affair. And I'm saying to you that that is wrong. And not only it is unlawful, but what we have done is we have decided to ignore many of the things that are going on and to pursue the matter that belongs to the people. And will the people decide? One point, I'll close on this point, is the Diaspora Conference. There are people going around saying that we intend to shut down the conference. And that is not so. What we are doing is we will be looking at the conference and we will be reviewing the conference as it is. And we will be having our own version of the conference in the evening of the day. Now, if there are persons who wish to go, they go. If they don't want to come to the conference that we're putting on, they can. Is this wrong? Absolutely not. And also, we have decided that we'll take back the name of the Global Diaspora Council and all that. But you see, I'm now heading in Brother Will's territory, and I hate to do that.
No, well,
yes.
Go ahead.
No, I just want to, step on his.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna really get one. I'm gonna ask him a few questions because I'm wondering, Mr. Rattigan, thank you again for being here. What do you intend to accomplish from this birthday?
Well, thanks again for having me. What do we intend to accomplish? We intend to highlight the incompetences, the failed promises, and all the ills besetting the people of Jamaica. We also wish to highlight some of the problems affecting the diaspora. For example, we have homeless Jamaicans, and people, they were shocked when we mentioned this. We have people who are living on food stamps, public assistance, Jamaicans in America. We have Jamaicans who are living in shelters. And so what we're trying to do is to help those people as well. So this is not just a matter about Jamaica, it's a matter about Jamaicans and wherever we live. We're striving to ensure that everybody have a decent quality of life, and that whenever politicians make promises, that they fulfill them. We are by no means seeking regime change. In fact, I say, look, if you like your politicians, you stay with them. All we're asking for is if you make a promise, you keep that promise, because there's a social contract between the voters and the politicians. And essentially it says, I vote for you so that you can take care of my needs. And when that contract is broken, then somebody has to speak up for some of those people, because some of those people are voiceless. They feel hopeless, and they also fearful, because the things that we're doing, starting in Miami, and as you know, we have New York, then we have Toronto, then we have the UK, then we have DC, and then we're back to Miami. People tell me that they're fearful. They can't stand up for their rights in Jamaica. So we're hoping to. I'm sorry. Go ahead, please.
But no, you go ahead, sir. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
We're trying to highlight the issues, and sometimes people accuse of impacting and damaging brand Jamaica. And we said, look, we have no power to damage brand Jamaica. We're highlighting the people who are damaging brand Jamaica. You know, when you have a prime minister whose statutory declarations for 2021, 2022 cannot be verified by the very agency that he created, that's damaging brand Jamaica. How am I damaging brand Jamaica? I am bringing it to the forefront to say, Mr. Prime Minister, you need to get your house in order. When you have water issues in Jamaica, where in 2016 we were told that the water issues will be solved because we have a national water policy. We're going to do desal, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, followed by a 2020 manifesto that says that improved upon the things that were said in 2016, and yet we have water problems, so much so that you have tourists in Jamaica protesting for water. That's damaging brand Jamaica. So you can only damage.
Many people said you, Mr. Rattigan, may have a personal agenda because you are not living in Jamaica. Why is it you're so concerned about what happened in Jamaica?
All right. I have relatives living in Jamaica. I'm still a Jamaican, right? And so the idea then is that if you live outside of Jamaica, you shouldn't have any concerns about what happens in Jamaica. Then the government shouldn't have any interest in what happens in the diaspora then. So leave me alone and let me continue with my protest. If you're saying you have no business talking about what's going on in Jamaica, then certainly what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Then the government of Jamaica has no business coming into the diaspora and taking over the diaspora council. So, and the reason I'm doing it, you see behind me, you see the place behind me? That's my house in Waterhouse. I still have relatives living there. I still have friends living there. I don't forget where I came from. I could, look, I'm a retired FBI agent. I'm a practicing lawyer. I could easily walk away. I could easily not have gotten involved, but I am involved because I must be involved, because the pain, the heartache, the hopelessness, all of those things that those people back there feel, I felt it. You talk to somebody who used to sleep on Spanish Town Road. You talk to somebody who used to beg food. Right? You talk to somebody who went through the pain and the suffering, and only through the grace of God, parents and others, that I got an opportunity and I made use of my opportunity. And so I am not, and I never will forget the people who come from the distressed and the dispossessed and the disenfranchised communities that I came from. So that's what I'm doing it. And also, I'm doing this for your children, your grandchildren, Miss Nemard's children, grandchildren, Dr. Francis, Dr. Hyvie. I'm doing it for all of them, but I'm also doing this for me. And that's why I subscribe to the moniker of the fierce urgency of now. I'm not sitting here doing this and say, well, 10 years from now, I hope they'll change. No, I want to see the change in my lifetime. And like I said to you, I don't care which government run the country now, just run it properly. And for those who say that Rattigan, he's full of venom and he has a lot of negativity about Jamaica, he feeds on a steady diet of negativity about Jamaica. I tell him, no, I love my country. I love Jamaica. I love Jamaican people. What I don't like is the governance of the country. I don't like the way it's being governed. And all I'm asking the government to do is just say, look, just do what you said you were going to do. Just that's all. And then you won't hear from me.
All right. But Mr. Rattigan, it also said that your action and the protest that you and Dr. Francis organized will have the potential of have a negative impact on the tourism in Jamaica, which would have subsequently impact the economy. What is your take on that?
You see what happened down at Ocho Rios with the drivers them who are complaining and want to go up on strike? I have nothing to do with it. I have nothing to do with it. And furthermore, sometimes things have to get worse before they get better, right? They have to get worse before they get better. And so the idea that we should just sit back idly and just watch what is happening, that would be criminal. We stand on the shoulders of greatness. We stand on the shoulders of people like Marcus Mosiah and Paul Bogle, Nani. Those people fought for freedom. It's not going to come easy. We know this. But you have to speak truth to power, and you have to take action against power, because power will not yield power. It won't. But we're not talking about violence. All we're talking about is highlighting the issues so that they will take a closer look at it and they may make a course correction. That's all we're asking for, a course correction. That's all.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Just to let Denny, Ivan, who is new to the show, just to let you know, you're free to ask any question during the course of the show. It's an interactive show. So if you have any question that you want to ask Mr. Rattigan, Paul Ivy, Dr. Ivy, or Dr. Francis, you feel free to do so. It's an interactive platform. So do you have any question before I move on?
Yeah, I am just listening to the cause and the same concerns he has regarding Jamaicans. I do share those concerns. However, I don't believe that they are voiceless. What I find is that outside of Jamaica, there's a difference from when you are in Jamaica. I was there for a whole month, and there are a lot of ill things going on there. I've seen some of it, but the people seem to be okay to me, And I don't think they're voiceless. They know how to get their voice across. They have their representatives there. They could do what they need to do, and their main voice is their vote. So they got to do what they got to do. So I don't really think they're voiceless. And if they get their political representatives to understand that the people themselves employ them, so they need to work for them. If they get that point across, then everything will be all right. They'll know that, okay, if you don't work for me, if you don't do your job as you're supposed to do it, then, ultimately you're going to get fired. So I'm going to get rid of you, put somebody else there that will work.
That's not necessarily, I hear you, but I don't think that's the culture of Jamaican, the Jamaicans. A lot of Jamaicans vote from the, place of diatedness, so I don't think they're very effective. I know they have a voice, but I don't think they're really exercising it effectively, in my opinion. Dr. Paul Ivy, I know this is...
Answer, Mr. Nehmat. If may I just
go ahead, sir. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, Mr. Nehmat, you, I don't take issue with what you say, except that I run a program every Saturday, and you'd be amazed at how many Jamaicans call and say, "Listen, we're glad you're speaking up for us, because we can't speak for ourselves. Because when we say things, then drag we from underneath our bed. If we come out and say something about the Prime Minister, them say, you see what happened? That they made an example out of those people to say, don't you ever dare speak ill of the Prime Minister, because although we can't find the 200 most wanted criminals in Jamaica, we will find you if you should utter any negativity about the Prime Minister." The other thing you mentioned was about, you said, well, if they they can talk to their representatives and this again, you're probably speaking to a different constituency than the ones that we are hearing from, because the ones we're hearing from, they're saying that we don't even see our guy. And what happened is that it's a strong arm tactics when it's election time, and so why, you know, we just have to just follow the Don's lead. If the Don said this is what's going to happen, we going to deliver this constituency for these politicians, and they do it. And then you mentioned about the voting. Keep in mind, and you're aware of this, they vote not every day, they vote every 5 years, maximum. So what happened is that if they vote for somebody, they stuck with that person, and Jamaica is known for being legacy voters. I vote for this party, not necessarily the person, you know. I vote for this party because why? My mother voted for this party. My grandmother voted.
Yes, you're right. You're
So,
right.
so what we're doing around here, we're trying to make people informed voters. So we try to educate them about things that are going on in Jamaica. And I've always said, and I will continue to maintain that, look, I don't care who you want to vote for. All I want you to do is to be a critical thinker when it comes to your vote. And if you decide that you're happy with your MP, then fine. That's between you, your MP, and your God. I don't care. But my job is to make you aware of some of the things that are going on. And then after that, it's up to you.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Paul Ivy, we're going to get into the meat of the matter in a few minutes. But if you allow me to ask Dr. Francis a question. Do you have a question at all that you want to ask to anybody? Me? Yes, sir.
Yeah, well, not a question. I want to just make 3 points or so based on what I've heard.
Yes, sir.
I want to emphasize that in a democracy, citizens have a right to protest or otherwise make their voices heard. So this nonsense about damaging brand Jamaica by protesting and so forth, I regard that as foolishness. In a democracy, people have a right, it's enshrined in the Constitution, freedom of speech, and to make peaceful protests. So, I mean, I don't buy that argument. The second point is this about representation in Jamaica. The equation is upside down. Whereas the people should be the bosses of the politicians, what we have is the opposite, where the politicians behave and carry on over the years as if they are the bosses of the people. And listening and representation is poor. Of the representatives that we have, they do not represent the people. They represent their party and their party's interests. You don't see a situation, for example, where a particular representative in the House of Parliament will take a position that goes against their party in the interest of the people. You don't see that. You see a situation, for example, with the banking challenges and the ATMs and the fees and so forth. And when a bill, a private member's motion was brought to the Parliament, they voted against it. They voted against it. That's not in the interest of the people. And so we need to change that. And as it relates to listening to the people, the only time Jamaicans get listened to is when they block a road for water or block a road for other basic services. And so this matter of active engagement and for citizens to stand up and say, look here, we cannot continue like this as a country. I have argued that the fundamental challenge that Jamaica has, that everything cascades from, is poor governance since independence. I'm not talking about now. Since independence, Norman Mandley said on the morning of August 7th, 1962, that the hope of independence was that we would make Jamaica a safe and happy home for all. Subsequent administrations have not brought that about. And we, the citizens, we must stand up and speak and change the state of affairs if we want a better country for ourselves and succeeding generations.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Francis, the protests, a lot of people interpret the protest to be that of a partisan position. Do you think a change of government is really the answer to the Jamaican current situation?
Let me explain. First of all, whatever I've done is not political. Whatever I've done is not political at all. So I don't want anybody to come and say that. I represented this government at a constituency level and at the local level for nearly 30 plus years. So when I'm speaking to anybody, understand you're looking at a labor right. Okay? If you want to call it on the diadism, right? But a person who was a member of the Labour Party, but I have lots of family in the People's National Party, lots of friends. I mean, comrades, listen to me, man. We had a wonderful time. We never fight each other, that sort of thing, and so on and so on. I know Dr. Paul Ivy for a long time. And I see him have a pink shirt and an orange shirt. I wouldn't ask him where he belonged to. And I'm going to ask him, right, Dr. P? I wouldn't do that. I would never do that. And I don't ask Ratty. I haven't asked you who you. I don't do that. I believe in patriotism. I believe in it. I was in the military. I work and I believe in leadership, governance, as Dr. Paul Riley said. Yeah, man, everybody must have a chance in your society. And I'm a little barefoot boy from Ocherius, and look at me now. Okay? That is not my own behind me, but you know, what can I tell you? I wish it was. The fact of the matter is that we have to give the people a chance, give the children a chance, treat the youth right, treat everybody right. You don't have no water in Jamaica. Come on. How is it possible that in 2024 there's no water? You have to carry water down a Nick Grill, all tourists, what do you call it, protesting with people. It's ridiculous. How does this happen? Because we are making highways. Yes, we love the highways. I read them nice and all that sort of thing. But did we do something to the environment? With the whole heap of drilling and the whole heap of bauxite mining, which you're not getting nothing for. Come on. I'm saying, where are the people? Can we go to a hospital without dying in that hospital? I hear that politician was to be taken to Kingston Public Hospital and then cry. I said, don't carry me there. I know he wasn't coming back. Knocking the people I'm in Kingston Public, you know, because I'm sure there are good people down there, right? But there are other hospitals who are called death hospitals. Let me tell you something. I have no time for politics. As a matter of fact, you know, when it comes to that, and I take the stance that we need politicians. And I said today on a radio program, there are two major political parties in Jamaica, and there'll never be more. Never.
30 seconds, Dr. Francis. Could you wrap up in 30 seconds?
What's that?
No, I was just giving you 30 seconds to wrap up what you were saying.
I'm not saying that. Yes, that's fine. I'm saying two political parties. And you choose. You choose. But we must have an ability to choose. Right? And if you make, as Ratty says, if you make a promise, it's not a comfort to a fool. A promise is a promise. Right? I'm a man who believes in a higher spirit, a higher God. And I believe that, you know, if you say something, do it. It's one thing. You must be a man or woman of your word. And I close on that.
Mr. Rattigan, you're not advocating for a change of government. You're advocating for the people to stand up for what is right. That's what I get from what you're saying. Yeah, go ahead.
Let me frame that for you. I grew up in a place called Compound. I used to play football for the I think it's the under 15 for Towile. You know what you know whose constituency that is? That is the Prime Minister's constituency. I also lived in Waterhouse. I live in Whitfield, up on Maxfield Avenue. Maxfield, all that side, that's Portia, right? I've lived in both constituencies. I left Jamaica before I could even register to vote. I was too young to vote. I came to America, and my only interest when I came to America, it was football, girls, and education. Not necessarily in that order, but that was my interest. I had no interest in politics. And then time came. I went to law school, and after that, I joined the FBI, and then I spent 30 years in the FBI. Come out, and I'm a practicing attorney. What I am doing is about people, not party. It's about policy. It's not politics. And that's why I said to you that I don't care who you want to vote for. Vote for whoever you think will make a difference in your life, your community's life, and the life of the country. But you cannot be a legacy voter and you watch you watch your situation crumble day by day, and you just keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. Somebody has to speak out. And you see, you know what happened now? No, and by the way, the prime minister, he says he doesn't make promises, he makes commitments. So, which is a stronger word. So, but you see, what happened now is that we now have to speak out, because for far too long nobody has spoken out. What I must say at this point is that what we're doing is epic. It's monumental. It's historic. It's never happened before, where a group of Jamaicans got together in unison and said, listen, we are sick and tired of the way the country is being governed. And again, I say to you, we're not about change a regime. We're about change of direction, the way the country is going. That's all we're about. So, and well, I don't even want to get into the voting thing, because once we start talking about RUPERT, that's a whole different conversation. So I'll leave it at that.
Okay, thank
I
you.
just want to say something quickly. Dr. Ivy made the very point, and Ms. Yvonne made it in a similar way. The right thing to do is to give the people, represent the people, and not represent yourself. You understand? It's when I went into politics, it was a selfless act. If I tell you the amount of money I spend, you wouldn't believe it, right? I know that I rock back and so on, and I can tell you this. And the first I'm telling you that when I told someone in high esteem that I didn't want a seat because I didn't know how politicians could make money, the person rocked back in the chair and laughed me to scorn, because I didn't know you could make the money as a politician. I spent money.
Wow.
Okay. All right.
Wow.
So when they're talking to the wrong person.
All right. Thank you.
Well, so let me just there's a little phrase that I like. We're not asking for a change of government. We're asking for the government to change.
Right.
That's what we're asking. We're saying change. That's all we're asking for.
The area that I came from in Jamaica for many years, where my house is, my personal house is, we never have water issue there at all. Never. I mean, that side, it's like there was never any water issue until the past 3 or 4 years, and it just don't make no sense to me. I went home and I have to schedule bathing according to when the water comes. Like it comes early in the morning, I have to hurry up and shower, and then it gone again. So I am now seeing people carrying water on that side of the what let me call it, that side of the area, which never happened before. So there has been decline in the water system, if you ask me. And I don't know if that have to do with the population increase or what. I don't know. But I'm just saying there are some things that from my experience is really, really, really decline there. And I don't want to take a partisan position, but it's just not good, if you ask me. Dr. Paul, yes, sir. I was going to call you.
No. Miss Nemardo is indicating that she's enjoying the discussion, but she may have to leave for work. So,
okay,
much time she has less, but you may need to engage her on.
All right. I'm gonna get to her right now, because what happened? She thinks that education, right, regardless of what government we have in power, education can get us out of our crime situation by educating the youth. Explain what you mean, Mr. Vaughn. Hello? She's not hearing us.
No.
She's not hearing us. Well,
okay, I have to do it quickly. Hearing me?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah, we're having some
This is terrible.
it's breaking up. You think that educating the youth at a primary level can get us out of the crime situation that we are facing? Yeah, she having some internet issue. But Leonard, Nemar, we're not here with some technical issues there. But Dr. Francis, Dr. Paul Ivy, I know you share the same sentiment. Explain how you think education can really get us out of crime.
Well, I mean, there are so many positives that can come from having an educated population. And what we have now that we have seen, the recent Jamaica Education Transformation Commission report chaired by Professor Orlando Pattison has pointed out to the failures in our education system. And one can make these points. We have a situation where there is a pipeline out of the failing education system that goes right into the gangs and right into the prison. There was a 2014 study that was done on the inmates in the population, and they found that they came from a particular set of underperforming schools. So there's a pipeline of illiterate youths, mainly young males, who at the end of 5 years of secondary education and even at the primary level, they don't have one single subject to their names. They are illiterate. Some of them cannot read. The Pattison report made mention of the fact that they cannot understand or comprehend even a simple passage. So there is a direct pipeline. It's almost as if our education system is a feeder for our crime situation that we're having in Jamaica. There is that. And the numbers speak to it. And what we have seen in other jurisdictions, where you have an educated population, there is a commensurate reduction in the level of crime that you are seeing, whether it is violent crimes or acquisitory crimes or so on and so forth. So if we are going to make a transformation of the Jamaican society, it has to, one of the areas that must be focused on is the education system. As remember now, the education system is a value chain. What happens at early childhood flows through to the primary, flows through to the secondary, flows through all the way up to tertiary. So you have that pyramid, and everybody knows that the base of the pyramid has to be the strongest point. And we have an education system that is in tatters and in need for significant transformation. The Pattison report has made 365 recommendations.
But Dr. Paul, but the judiciary system is not effective as well. That need to repair. Well, you're talking about a society where it is very, very easy to commit a crime, regardless of your education. And if it was education, I think that educated people commit crime as well. I think so. I think there's a fear of not being caught. They don't have that fear.
No, but let's not mix up the thing for the moment.
Okay.
If we're looking at the different contributory factors, let us not talk about all of them at once. We know that there are multiple tributaries flowing into the river, the stream of crime. But if we're going to focus on the education, let's kind of like do that for the moment and speak to how that as a slice of the pie as a significant contribution to the crime situation. And I'm not here, obviously, to say that educated people don't commit crime, but as a general proposition, persons who are employed and employable, there's a distinct difference between those who cannot, they are illiterate, they cannot enter mainstream society. And so they have to look at other ways of surviving because, Maslow's hierarchy of needs mean that people have to survive. They want things. They can't enter mainstream society because they're not being equipped. They've not been capacitated. Remember now, a country's education philosophy must drive its development agenda, which in turn is related to its educational philosophy. Because one of the things that has happened over the years is that education and investments in education have been seen as an expense. It's a cost to the government. That's not how it should be looked at. It must be looked at as an investment, because what you're talking about is human capacity development. You're building human capital, and a lot of positives flow therefrom. It has been said that Lee Kuan Yew, I think in his book, mentioned that, look, he was casting about for different ways of, transforming his country and so forth. And then he hit upon education. Educate the people. People who are educated are creative, they are innovative, they will create their own jobs to a great extent as well, rather than looking to the market for, at 9 to 5. Educated people are creative, innovative, and so forth, and you will have a better society overall.
Thank you.
I just want to add that.
Go ahead.
Paul Ivy is quite correct. From empirical evidence, it says that we are products of our environment. It's Aristotle said it, John Locke said it, and many other notables said it. But it's also true. And what he said through education, going through from A to Z, if you follow the stream, then you get it right in the beginning from early childhood education. By the way, Jamaica doesn't really have a early childhood education, from my understanding. That is mainly the church schools and so on and so on. So they don't really. And if you start at that level, and you have home, and you build the home and the home structure. And by the way, it doesn't mean that a mother and father necessarily, I would like that to happen, but in my case, it was a village that raised me. So I couldn't do anything wrong anyway. So I'm saying it's all in one. We are products. We have to create the environment, an educational environment, as he's saying, and we have to work on it, and we have to build it. And once we build it, it will turn out. It will not turn out as it is in our situation. It takes everyone to get together to decide, and that's why the task force is divided into several divisions, right? It's a multifaceted approach, and so that's why we built it, and we have in fact effected. And there are places that we have tested this model on, and it has worked.
Okay. Mr. Rattigan, do you think our current crime situation, our current crime rate, is a result of illiteracy?
Well, I don't profess to be an educator, and Dr. Paul Ivy, I think he addressed a portion of that question quite well. I mean, I can't improve upon anything that he said. Likewise for Dr. Francis, except to say that point out something that he said that's absolutely. He said a lot of things that are, well, I agree with everything that he said, but there's one thing that he said that really, really struck me quite impactful, and that is, he said, look, we're looking at education as a cost rather than, or as an expense rather than an investment.
Yep.
And he's absolutely correct. That's how we look at it. And until we start looking at it differently, this is what we're going to see. And we shouldn't expect any better. What's even worse is that the person who's the most fittest to deal with this issue of education, forget about crime now, just like Dr. Ivy says, we don't want to mix up all the tributaries. We're just talking about education now.
Right.
The person I believe who's the most fittest in the government today to deal with this problem, the issue, long-standing issue of education, is none other than the Prime Minister. He was the Minister of Education. And so you would expect that, okay, he's going to make it a priority, not just say it's a priority, but make it a priority. And one of the things you look at as a leader, if you're examining a leader, you look to see who does he put in place to handle certain things, who does he delegate things to. Look at the minister, the current Minister of Education. I dare say she's unfit to be Minister of Education, and she's proven that. This is not just a personal opinion. She's proven that. I hear complaints from her own people. She's you may want to call her a financial genius or something to that effect, but she went to two of the finest schools in America, and she ended up with a bachelor's in economics and a master's in business administration from the Wharton School of Business. And now she's left now to deal with the education problem. And I'm telling you, I watched her the other day. I watched her at a town hall meeting, and even if I tried, I couldn't be more disappointed. And then I looked at her performance and I said, you know what? Things are going to get worse. They're not going to get better. And only recently, we saw a study done by an international group that says Jamaican students are performing below par in basic subjects. And that goes back to what Dr. Paul Ivy says about the base, the foundation being the strongest, and then you build on that. If you don't have that, then whatever you build will topple. And that's what we're seeing. The toppling is the effect of crime.
And what Mr. Rattigan has just indicated about the international study as to how Jamaican students are benchmarked globally, it's the PISA results, the Program of International Student Assessment. Jamaican students are way behind their global peers. So there's that at the international level. And then when you look at this GSAT results and you look at the CSEC results, it's a failing system. And I'm an educator. I've been in the education system for 30 years, and I'm also a product of the education system. And I've described myself as an education-enabled escapee from social death. Were it not for education, I would be a nobody, no social mobility, nothing. And I've argued, and people might want to say, oh, see your political leanings coming out. When Michael Manley declared and instituted a policy of free education, that was a stroke of genius as it relates to the intergenerational impact that it would have had. And I'm very disappointed that as a country, we did not see the wisdom of that and to continue it. Because there's the lip service is given to the argument, oh, the people are a country's greatest resource. We have a tremendous waste of human potential in Jamaica. A tremendous waste of human potential. Jamaicans are bright. Jamaicans are ingenious. Jamaicans simply want somebody to open a door and say, walk through this door. And the entity with the greatest leverage is government. The entity with the greatest leverage that can change things at a country level is the government. Early childhood education is just an hodgepodge, Miss Matty Veranda, church groups have a little basic school here. The persons who teach, quote unquote, in the early childhood education system are untrained. How on earth can you have a building, putting up a building, and the foundation is not solid? It is preposterous.
Wow. Yes, that is so true. Everybody in the district want to start a business. Some of them not even educated themselves, just have basic read and write, and they're able to open a school. We call it kindergarten. Yeah, go ahead, sir.
No, you know, one of the things that, and like I said, I left Jamaica in 1977, right? When a few years after, I think free education came about like 1972 or 1973, somewhere
73,
around.
yes.
73, right. And one of the things that the government did, and again, I'm not a political animal, but facts are facts, was in addition to the free education, early childhood, primary, secondary, tertiary, there was the Jamal program.
Yes.
So that nobody escaped. So they said, listen, the people who couldn't read before, we are now going to teach them how to read. And that was a comprehensive education plan. And to be honest with you, I didn't even know that free education stopped. That shows you how distant I was from Jamaican and Jamaican politics and the education system. It's only like within the last few years, I heard that they don't have free education any longer. So if you're going to do an education plan, you have to design something like that where you say, listen, we're not letting anyone, we're not ignoring anyone in this plan. We're going to include everyone, because otherwise, this is what we're going to see. We're going to see more crimes, more murders, and guess what? We don't even we don't even have more prisons. So yeah, we're overcrowding there, and we don't even have skills being taught in these prisons, except skills to come back out and be a better criminal. So
let me also say this though. Don't forget the 60s. There was a program that gave scholarships, and I'm a beneficiary of that. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here today. And I think it was Norman Manley who spearheaded that. I'm not sure who it was, but that I was a beneficiary. I got a full scholarship or a half scholarship. But just to put the things of you guys, Mr. Radcliffe, Paul, and said that leadership there's a phrase that says exemplo ducimus. By example shall we lead. Okay? And it is so very profound, especially when you have this awful thing or awesome thing of leadership. You must lead by example. Okay? Yes. And that's what is lacking. And so therefore people are going to say, okay, you know, Jamaica is one of the most talented. You all said it. I mean, the people are wonderful, etc. But believe you me, I see some stuff on social media. Lord have mercy, I have to close my eye. Because I'm telling you, we are misconstrued. We have to look at everything. Somebody just mentioned about tourism here. Tourism I think, is important. But believe you me, if we concentrate on the people, we could equate the Indians, the Chinese, and the Singaporeans in technology. Right? For example, nursing and all that. Those are opportunities that we could be selling as we have been, you know, and getting income from. That would be outshine tourism, outshine it, because the money is not staying in Jamaica. Anyway.
Miss Yvonne, are you hearing us? Are you able to participate? I don't know. She is muted. Yeah, you're. I think she mute. All right, she mute. We're not hearing her. But Dr. Paul Ivy. What's the situation with the Jamal program? Could you tell our listeners what's the situation? It was demolished, right?
Jamal, as we knew it, has been demolished. They have changed it into what they call the high school equivalency program, and which is like kind of like the American equivalent of the GED. That's what it has morphed into, and I think it is a part of the HEART system. It was put as part of HEART Trust and STA. So Jamal, as we know it, doesn't exist anymore, and that high school equivalency program has just not taken off like how people are able to do their GED in the US. I'm not so sure why, but the high school equivalency program that replaced the traditional Jamal as we know it, it just has not taken off, you know. So it is effectively ineffective compared with what it was in the past.
Okay.
So where you had that mobilization and for people to come into the light, and the logo for Jamal was a light, you know, a lamp, a little lamp, and all of that type of thing. All of that mobilization and enthusiasm around educating the people who came out of school illiterate and so on, we don't have that anymore, you know, because the whole buzz and the importance that should be attributed to education as a driver of personal and national development, you really don't have that kind of oomph and the push behind it. But even as I say that, I'm saying that, you know, I do not necessarily think the minister is unfit for the position because, you know, she has the education ammunition in terms of the schools that she has attended. She's from a small community called Ty Dixon in Jamaica and so forth. She appreciates the contextual realities and so forth. But you see, what we have in Jamaica is structures, ineffective structures, archaic structures, structures in which people are not held accountable. And so you get what we have always gotten, which is mediocrity and the perpetuation of mediocrity on top of mediocrity. So it becomes encrusted with mediocrity. What has not happened is transformational leadership that cascades throughout all sectors of Jamaica. We elect people to orchestrate prosperity in the broad sense of the term. We have Vision 2030 and we have the goals set out therein, but they have not orchestrated it. It's like, for example, you have all the ingredients to make a cake, but you cannot put them together and produce the cake. So you have the bits and pieces, but you can't put them together in a coherent way. And the reason for that is the lack of leadership. That is it.
They're overpowered by. Go ahead, Mr.
Let me just say that I understand where Dr. Ivy is coming from regarding, the Minister of Education in terms of her educational ammunition, but to me, it's like putting a square peg in a round hole. And I say this based on my observation of her performance. She doesn't have the acumen. She doesn't seem to have the passion for this, and therefore it resonates. That resonates with people. Like, for example, with me, when I say resonate negatively. Like, I look at it and I go, wait a minute, she's out of her element, And that would, to me, I agree with him when he said structures. That we have archaic structures, but we also have incompetence in those archaic structures, and that makes the problem even worse. For example, we have a Minister of National Security who's a trained medical doctor who has no experience in law enforcement, and that ministry is supposed to be a priority ministry because crime, as we know, is a driver of all things negative in Jamaica. We know that, except if you're in the private security business. If you own one of those companies, then yes, it's fine. And then you have a marketing person in charge of health. I have a problem with that when you start taking people willy-nilly and putting them in positions that they're unfit. And here's where it gets even worse. They continue to demonstrate to you on a consistent basis that they're incompetent to handle their portfolios, and you keep them there. That's a problem.
Yes, I want to say that as a general proposition, I agree with Mr. Rattigan regarding horses for courses, if you will, then, horses for courses in terms of matching expertise with the portfolios. But then we also add a Minister of Education who was a high school principal and a master teacher in the person of Royal Reid.
Yes. And here's the thing. So what that tells you then is that Mr. Royal Reid, who was an advisor to the Prime Minister when the Prime Minister was the Minister of Education, what that tells you is that it's not that he was unfit, is that based on the allegations so far, he's a bad seed. And we have that.
And so it goes to the larger point I'm making about the accountability systems and structures. So what we have is a situation in Jamaica where governance and governance systems and accountability systems are ineffective. And so we have what we have right across the different sectors of the society. It is poor governance and poor leadership. All road leads to that.
Well, let me take issue with that, Dr. Ivy. Our Prime Minister and the cabinet and the government by extension spent, based on what I've been told, over $1 billion Jamaican dollars to come up with job descriptions for parliamentarians and cabinet members. So am I to take it then that it was an effort in futility? Because those two documents, they laid out the accountability part of it, saying that you're supposed to do this, and that, and all of those nice things that you just spoke about. They're enshrined in those two documents. So what says you about those two documents?
I'm not
in
sure
terms of
if it has
fees?
been done. I recall just after the furor over the increase in salaries, the 200% increase in salaries, there was a furor about, well, what are they going to do? And a promise was made to produce job descriptions. I'm not sure if they have been produced and implemented. I have not heard that announcement in terms of them and their use put into effect. You know, we know that we had the promise, that it would occur. But then again, here we are. And that is why I say that I take no issue with protest, if that's what's required, to get the government's attention. And when I say government, I mean any government, any sitting government,
right.
where the citizens are not satisfied with performance and what's on the ground in terms of their day-to-day realities, then obviously people have to speak out, obviously. So
Well,
I
see,
take no issue with citizens' rights to make their voices heard.
all right. Well, see, Doc, I have two documents here.
Yes.
First one says Ministry Paper number 69-2023, job description for ministers of government, June 20, 2023, Office of the Prime Minister.
Yes.
And this document, it tells you what your job description. In fact, I'll just quickly, I'll tell you the titles: strategic objective, job
Yes.
purpose, reporting and accountability.
For MPs,
Key
ministers.
This one is for ministers of government, right?
Yes.
And then it goes
Okay.
on to say, there are more sections here, talks about deliverables. Here's another one, performance standards. Here's one that I
Yes.
think you're going to like.
Yes.
Competencies and attributes. I think you're going to And then it has key responsibility areas, key deliverables,
Yes.
contacts. This one is for ministers. Now, here is the one for members of parliament.
Yes.
Right? And it says here, strategic objectives, same thing, job purpose, key deliverables, outputs, key responsibility areas, contacts, performance standards, competencies, attributes, minimum required qualification, and working conditions.
Yes.
So, and these were produced by the government last year. And this is what the Prime Minister said, okay, because if you remember, one of his promises was that every ministers will get a letter, a job description letter. This was back
that
in
was an election promise.
2015, 2016.
16.
Right? And then here it is several years later, in June 2023, they come up with these two documents. And I'm being told that they paid over $1 billion to consultants to come up with this. No, when you read this, Dr. Ivy, I submit to you that Jamal, the equivalent of a jump, what do you call that program that they had on the 70s, the one for older folks? Yeah. I submit to you that a Jamal graduate would do much better than this. These two documents, you can actually print these things. The language, you can print them off of the internet.
From ChatGPT could probably produce them.
No, GPT would produce a better product than this. This is
but here's my point now. And this comes back to a point that I've made repeatedly. The late Tony Lang said, Jamaica is like a company and the citizens are the shareholders. But they left it up. So this is why active citizenship, the citizens, the people must no longer sit down and take this crap. And until the citizens, Edna Mandley had a piece of artwork, I think one of her famous artworks, called Negro Aroused. Until the people get aroused in terms of appreciating that they are the bosses in a democracy and they must instruct the leaders as to what it is that they want and hold them responsible for it. So notwithstanding how you have characterized those documents, they are what they are. So the question is, are we the bosses going to say, all right, you set out this in this document, we're going to hold you to it, rather than these people prancing around Jamaica in Prados and all type of things, and everybody clearing the way for them like they're some gods and all these type of things. We must not have that in the democracy. They must answer
when was the last time?
People must wake up, Mr. Sutherland.
And I agree with you. But when was the last time in Jamaica we had stand up for what we want? Has Jamaica been doing that, like the people in the diaspora, like Dr. Francis and Mr. Rattigan is.
And that is why I have no problem with what the people in the diaspora are going. Maybe they will set a trend and it will, cascade into us down here. Maybe they are setting an example for us down here in Jamaica.
So you are in full support of what they're doing?
Because remember, they are Jamaicans. It's just that they're in a different geographical space. But they haven't relinquished their Jamaicanship and their interest in the country, the land of their birth.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I hear you. Go ahead, Mr. Rattigan.
No, I agree with Dr. Ivy. The question I was going to ask him, and he made some allusions to it. I was going to ask him, Doc, look, we know, and we've been preaching that the people are the bosses, and that their representatives work for them. How do we get people to appreciate and implement that thought into action? How do we do that?
If we want to be strategic and also appreciate that, showing people the wins that we have had. We have had the small wins, but we need to make people understand that the small wins must be developed into bigger wins and more frequent wins. Because in as much as we saw, for example, where the Speaker of the House wanted to withhold the opinion of the Attorney General, wanted to delay the tabling of reports from the Auditor General and so forth, that public clamor and that no letting up by civil society, media, and other groups, notice that she relented. And over the years, we have had some successes, but we seem not to focus on the fact that they have in fact been successes. And what we need is, we see civil society doing what it's doing, and we need more people to speak out, more academics and so on and so forth. It's not for the absence of some of these things that we're not getting. We just want for it to coalesce and for it to cascade, and to the extent that you have a rolling fire, if you will. I don't want to use those kind of terminology because first might think we're talking about burning places and so forth, but we're talking about building up steam and building on top of what we have and keep on going like this. I mean, look, I don't have to be doing this, I don't have to be doing this.
Dr. Ivy, you said that, you indicated that the people who should be doing more, they're not. How do you, like certain civil society groups and academicians and so on and so forth, how do you get them to start playing an active role in this scenario that we're discussing?
We have to keep on it, each one teach one, each conscious one bring another one along and so forth, because I hold the view that we should act within our domains of competence and influence. In my own case, for example, as an academic, here I am on this platform. Mr. Sutherland shares with me the number of views that this show has had for particular episodes and so forth. People are listening, and you have persons who, let me see, I think I did something at work recently and somebody stopped me on the pathway and said, I tune into all of your presentations and I download your documents and so on and so forth. Sometimes when we think we're not having influence, we're actually having the influence, but it's not like visible. But over time, because, we have this saying, Rome wasn't built in a day. But we have seen where the people, in instances where the people have stood up, we just need to continue the education, the public education. I'm no longer a classroom lecturer. but I've sought to use different means of continuing the public education as an adult educator and all of that. We are talking about education. Let us give an example. In my book, Jamaica, Paradise and Paradox, Mr. Sutherland has a copy. I have a whole chapter on the education system, you know. There's a book that I'm also writing now called A Portrait of Jamaica's Education System. So I'm doing work in my domain of competence and influence. Other academics need to do the same. You know, Noam Chomsky made the point about the critical role of intellectuals in a society. People say a lot of things about Trevor Monroe. Trevor Monroe has done a lot of things in terms of arguments pertaining to good governance, accountability issues, and so forth. And we see where some institutions in Jamaica are beginning to have an effect. At first, I, for example, you know, thought the Integrity Commission was, you know, weak-kneed and so. But we're seeing that the Integrity Commission is beginning to assert itself and making its presence known. Look here, gentlemen, what you are doing, we must continue and don't let up. That is just the only way that these things happen. It's going to be, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And what we should do is influence the younger people to also take a role in these things. We talk about Mr. Sutherland. When was it the last time Jamaicans stood up? The point was made, for example, in terms of an analogy. Look what the students in the US are doing on the university campuses. The last time we had a kind of like university, tertiary level students rising up in Jamaica was when the cess was removed in terms of free education not being the case anymore. And before that, it was the Walter Rodney riots. Our university students need to wake up themselves too, and they need persons to motivate them and to bring to their attention that, look here, you are the future of this country. We who are turning into senior citizens, you are the ones and your children who are going to live here. It is in your interest to assert yourselves as it relates to the direction in which this country is going.
Dr. Ivy, I just want to say one thing. Listen, I've heard the arguments and they're wonderful. But one of the things is fear, F-E-A-R. It is real. It is in fear of whatever it is. Take it where you want to. The fact of the matter is that people, the churches, everybody in Jamaica, there is an issue, a big issue, and nobody wants to do because they are afraid. And that's the issue, one of the major issues that they do not want to address. Why are they so afraid of doing what they're supposed to? Why? I mean, you know, we over here, we are doing what we're doing, and yet there are people who are spreading the same nonsense, the same propaganda, and what have you. I'm not easy on. My view is, and I'm telling you, that it's about time. Jamaica is ours, not theirs. Ours. Okay? And Jamaica is unique among all nations. Our people are unique. But if we don't watch it, we're going to lose it because of fear.
Dr. Francis, I get that Dr. Ivy is implying that you guys should continue to do what you're doing until the people on the ground start mimic what you're doing. Because the truth is, how effective can it be if the people on the ground don't start standing up? Sarah Tigan, do you think what you're doing would be as effective if the people don't start mimic what you're doing on the ground?
Yeah, let me just take a quick moment here to advertise our shirt. Call to action against the corrupt government of Jamaica for corruption, backside, poverty, crime, broken promises, health, education, water, constitutional violations, financial disclosure, etc. And here's the back of the shirt. New York protest, May 10th, to Jamaica Consulate. Please support the One Jamaica Legal Defense Foundation. And we have the shirt. We have the shirt in yellow. We have the shirt in yellow. See there? Yeah. And we have the shirt in black. So, Dr. Ivy, we have one for you, we have your size there, and so that I'll get free man when so that show. But to answer your question about getting people energized and And what we're doing here, will it influence the people back home to do likewise? We're hopeful, but at the same time, we're not spending too much time looking at what's going on there in terms of if they're following us or whatever. We have a script, and like I mentioned to you, after Friday, the next protest will be in Washington D.C. in front of the Jamaican embassy, and in June, that's mid-June, and in mid-June we will be talking to our legislators in the Congress about the Foreign Agents Registration Act, as well as the Magnitsky Act, how we can bring the pressure to bear on Jamaican politicians who are accused of kleptocracy, corruption, and human rights violations. And we think we have a strong case to make there. So we're looking and we're hopeful that the U.S. government will see the virtue of what we're doing, and they will take some visas, and they will probably see some assets. In addition to that, in June, we're going to, as I said, we are moving on from DC to Canada, from Canada to the UK, from the UK back to Miami, where we started. So CG, if you watch down in Miami, we are come back a round robin thing we are doing. Because we're not stopping. So what we're doing is we understand, and what Dr. Francis said, about fear. In Jamaica, fear is imagined and it's also real. But it doesn't matter whether if it's imagined or real, it paralyzes you from doing certain things. And so what we're trying to do is wake people up, energize them, influence them to the point where they say, look, you know what? We stand on the shoulders of great men and women who died so that we could have the right to do what we're doing. And here it is that we're not doing it. And at the same time, and we're not even saying to them, do it for somebody else. We're saying, do it for yourself. Do it for yourself. So we understand what's going on. And so we are moving forward with our plan to do what we can do to cause change. And like I said, we're not asking to change government. We're asking government to change.
Right.
And it's important that we know that.
And also asking the people to hold the government responsible for their action. I think that's one other thing that you're pushing more.
Let me just share something with you here, Mr. Sutherland. We have been, Dr. Francis and I, we have been accused of being partisans. We have been called, in fact, we were just called a few days ago, PNP thugs, right?
Yeah. Yes.
That's a direct quote. We were called PNP thugs. And then people make the argument that I'm being vindictive because I didn't get the job. And I say to people who approach me, I said, listen, when you hear these arguments, all you have to do is say, listen, we believe you that this man is vindictive. But let me ask you a question. Whatever he's saying, is it false? Is it false? Because here, let me just tell you some of the things that we've spoken about, and that people are claiming that we're partisan. We're talking about the Prime Minister's promise in 2016 that you'll be able to sleep with your windows and doors open.
Yes, brother, how you doing?
That's one. Two, is statutory declarations. Three is the anti-corruption training he and they receive, but they refuse to sign the code of conduct. The state of emergency that the court ruled as being unconstitutional. The amendment to the Constitution to extend the tenure of the DPP that the court ruled null and void. The salary raise approximately somewhere between 200 to 300%, while civil servants receive 20% over 3 years. Where's the other one? Oh, students, we talk about that, the corruption at the Ministry of Education. The SSL scandal. The Auditor General reports that $1.7 trillion unaccounted for, and the water situation. And I said to people, tell me now, are these facts? Are these facts? And I'll have you know that I just sent, somebody claimed that these things weren't substantiated, and I sent to that person, about 60 newspaper articles. We're talking Gleaner, Observer, and other outfits, as well as interviews conducted by TVJ and other outlets. And we said, look, it's in the public domain. So tell me now what's political about relating these facts to people, because far too often in Jamaica, and here is something that we suffer a lot from, the 9-day wonder.
Yes.
Things happen and we listen to it and it's interesting, it captivates us, and then it's forgotten. It's overtaken by another story, and then we forgot. That's one thing that we don't do around here. We don't do 9-day wonders around here.
Which, to add to that point, Mr. Rattigan, just to say, remember, you have to all forgive me for keep saying this. I'm an academic, so I write books. Another book that I've finished, because I said that I was going to release one book in each quarter of this year. And I've finished the book that I contemplated releasing, but more information is coming along. It's called Corruption in Paradise, where I have cataloged all the various instances. So when Mr. Rattigan speak about facts, these are not things that you manufacture in. So the things that I've cataloged in this book, for example, it's not stories that I make up. It's things that have happened in Jamaica over the years. I was born 1 year after independence. And what I have seen looking on with the gifts and the talents from education and so forth is an undesirable state of affairs for a country that has so much potential. We are an underachieving child. You have a child with promise, they pass the common entrance and so on, and then they don't come to anything in life. Jamaica is kind of like that, So that's why I titled one of my books, Paradise and Paradox, because we have not achieved what we have the potential to achieve as a country.
So you're called PNP thugs. For the listeners,
I saw it. It's not lie they're telling. I've seen it.
PNP thugs. For the listeners, you are saying, Mr. Rattigan, you're not standing up for a party. You're standing up for the people. So you're not coming from the place of a PNP. You're not coming from the place of a Labour. You're just coming from the place of the people. And I just want to hear you say it to the people and the platform.
Oh, that's easy. I've said it. I think I say it like 2 or 3 times a day every time we get interviewed. I don't care what party you vote for, your affiliation. All I worry about the people, because at the end of the day, right, you have to feed your family, you have to send your children to school, you have to take care of yourself, right? So we're talking about the creation of opportunities for people to thrive. And what we have been told, what we have been sold is prosperity, but we've been given poverty. The poverty level is going up. It's almost 17% in Jamaica. And if you think about the minimum wage, which amounts like $16, people complain all the time. I talk to them. They say, it's just by the mercy and the grace of God that we're surviving. A relative of mine just got back from Jamaica, and he said to me, Jamaica, nice, but why it's rough. It's nice for tourists. It's nice when you go down there and you have the dollars and you can spend. But them say when you're looking at the people, some of the people in eyes, it's lifeless. It's lifeless. Because when you look at their situation, it's hopeless. And they don't see a way out. They've been promised prosperity. In fact, we had a doctor on the program last week, Dr. Ben, and he said that when a politician makes a promise and doesn't fulfill it, and the person cannot do anything about it, that can cause stress. And we were talking about prosperity doctrine going back to 2016 and the fact that very few people have prospered. In fact, the Prime Minister said in 2022, I believe, he said one of the doctrines of the JLP is that they move people from the poor class to the middle class and so on and so forth. And then I ask people all the time, from 2016, have you moved? Have you moved from the class that you're in? And the overwhelming majority of the answers is they say, no, we don't. And let me just make one quick point about comparisons, especially when it comes to crime. People must realize that when they tell you that crime is going down, it's not going down. And here's why I say it's not going down. And why I don't accept these false comparisons. in 2015 and early part of 2016, even before 2015, the opposition, that's now the government, made a convincing argument to the people of Jamaica that Jamaica is unsafe under the present government at the time. They said, no, that's why he came out with that famous phrase saying that, you know, under our government, we're law and order. Under our government, you'll be able to sleep with your windows and doors open. So they argued against those people. They argued against the government of the day. The people believed in them, and the people said, fine, we will give you our vote because we believe that you will do better than these guys. So now, don't come and tell. And by the way, when they took over, you know what the murder rate was? It was 1,208. 1208 in 2015. We have not approached 1208 since 2015, despite the fact that the government says we have spent more money than any other government. We have equipped the police. We have done this. We have created an intelligence, this and and yet, the crime rate is way above 1,208. So for me, my measuring point is 1,208, and you can't make any comparison and say, well, you know, under the PNP, the crime start. I'm saying, no. You argued against them. So that argument is over and finished, and we believed you. So now what we're going to do is we're going to hold you on your performance, not on your comparison.
Okay, so you're saying then you would never consider crime going down until it goes below 108. Exactly. They have to bring it down from where they picked up at.
Exactly.
Listen to me now. I tell you something. I've been called a thug. And, by this person who I know. I don't know if he understands the word thug or thug life. But I'd rather be a thug than him. Yes, you were talking. Because, you know, I'm not going to be fight fire with fire, you know. But I think that's very disingenuous of you. When you put me, I don't mind you calling Ratchet thug, you know. Because, you know, it might be where I live there. Or Dr. Irene. But me, I don't understand you, brethren.
Well, at least maybe I'm just an academic thug, but
Thank you.
My interest is in Jamaica. You know, I tell you this, you know, my role model as it relates to public commentary and all of that is Martin Henry, you know. And the late Martin Henry just called things as he saw them, being led by the facts. That's all. And, you know, Miss Dr. Francis make the point about fear, you know. And I do not rule it out, because there are persons who are not pushed by their convictions to say what is going to be the price of doing that which is right for the greater good, for standing up for a country. You're a citizen of a country. It's not going in the right direction. What are you going to do? Just stay within your cocoon because you are relatively comfortable. You know, it might say that, well, you know, I can have a reasonably good life in Jamaica and so forth. So what's that? As it relates to my other brothers and sisters who have the same level of melanin like me, do I not have a concern for them as well? And even Jamaicans not yet born? We can't continue like this. Like I said, I've grown up in Jamaica, you know, and listened to Ban Your Belly, Better Must Come, Deliverance is Here, a succession of promises, including the last set of promises that we got in 2016. And here we are. And if anybody believes that the PNP is in the ascendancy in the polls, let's say they win the next election, I hope they don't believe that we're going to just keep up with the same rubbish that is going on. You know, I hope nobody in the PNP is harboring those thoughts, you know, because we're not going back there. We want better for the country. That's what we want, better for the country. It's not about a party thing. I'm speaking for myself. It's not about a party thing for me. It is better for the country. We deserve better as a people. That's it. We deserve better as a people. It cannot be, Mr. Sutherland, in 2024. People are going to be bathing in buckets and bad pan like back in the days, back in the olden days. In 2024, in modern day times, that can't be.
Even though I'm not political, I really said that a lot of times. I cannot believe today, 2024, people are bathing in buckets. I have a friend right now.
You have pit toilet out there too. You have all other things. You have no running water in ears, no lights still the way I used to represent 20, 30 years ago. Come on, give me a break. Anyway, guys, believe you me, I gotta get things together this evening. Anyway,
Yes.
go ahead, Doc. I just have
Mr. Sutherland made the point about his area that had water until the last couple of years. It's the same thing in my district. When I was growing up, we had water running in standpipes and pipe in my yard. So what does that tell you? We are going back ways. It's back ways we're going. If when you
we're fooled by the pretty cars and the big roads. So
when I'm traveling,
we're going down
looking
pretty. We're going down.
This thing come to my attention when I drive on the toll road. Beautiful. You think you're there foreign. You think you're there in any one of the interstates in the US. But just take off the exit and go in a one community off the main. No roads to speak of. The infrastructure is in bad condition. And then people are going to boast about highways. The majority of people are not on the highways. The majority of Jamaicans are not on the toll roads. They're in the interior, in the communities and in interlands. That's where they are.
I don't know.
This running up and down and cutting ribbons and having pretty videos and all that type of foolishness. That's not going to cut it. It's the basic needs you want. You see how the parish council them, they are worthless. All of them, every single one of them.
Anyway, listen, gentlemen, I really have to go now. Honestly, it's been a wonderful thing. I could stand another hour, but I can't, unfortunately.
I have to go as well too.
So you can call me tonight, Dr. Francis, because
I'll call you later, but I have something to do right now.
All right, so let me say thank you guys for stopping by, but I also like when you give your final remark. You have to leave us with something, Dr. Francis. You cannot leave like
I want to say thank you for this opportunity to share with you our thoughts, and it's very clear, it's very open, it's very transparent, and I really thank Brother Ivy bringing up us to speed as to what is happening in his neck of the woods and in Jamaica in particular. I thank Will for bringing the documents as usual out there. I am more I'm so enthused about the whole thing. I think this is the way the diaspora and Jamaica can coalesce, right, and build a Jamaica that we'll all be proud of. Otherwise, I don't know what is going to happen. And I think that regardless of politics, I'm not talking about any political party here. We're just talking about Jamaica and making it a better place to live, work, and raise families. That's what I'm saying.
Dr. Paul,
I'm happy to be here again to participate in discussions. A democracy relies upon the active engagement of citizens. And that is what I see manifesting itself in terms of what members of the diaspora is doing. And I think that we need to have a similar kind of mobilization and consciousness permeating Jamaica as well in terms of the borders of Jamaica, because Jamaicans in the diaspora are no less Jamaicans than Jamaicans on the rock. And the democracy relies on the active engagement of citizens. The office of citizen carries with it responsibilities. And that is what motivates me. And anybody who is doing that in terms of their active engagement in wanting to see the betterment of the country, that's a good thing.
Thank you. Mr. Rattigan.
Yeah. Again, Soda, thanks for having me.
Yes,
it's a pleasure always sitting around with Dr. Paul I, because I leave the place smarter than when I arrive. He has that remarkable ability to capture your attention and to speak not only truth, but to speak with logic and conviction that you have no choice but to believe. Sometimes I come on the program and I kind of like, I'm not quite sure I agree with him, but the more you listen to him, the more convinced you are that he's right. So I just want to thank you, Dr. Ivy, for
Thank you, sir, for your kind words, and it's good to be
Yeah.
here with you guys as well. You know,
And
I get
Dr.
different perspectives, and
and Dr.
yes.
Francis, what can I say? He's our leader. He doesn't like me to say that because he said he's a leader. He's not the leader. So, but I want to thank him again. Dr. Ab, you mentioned active engagement of citizens, and that's exactly what we are doing. One of the things that we didn't talk about tonight, and hopefully we can talk about it sometime in the future, is the idea of the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council. The fact that the name belongs to us now. We have legally acquired the name, and the logo will soon be ours. So they're up in arms about that. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade and other members of the cabinet, they're up in arms about that. But so be that as it may, it's ours. Now, people, show up on Friday. It's forecasted to rain, but we're giving away ponchos. And you can't make a little rain stop you from come out and be actively engaged, as Dr. Paul Ivy says, because some of our ancestors went through that little rain. I gonna stop you? No, man. In fact, it's supposed to motivate you so that when they look out the window and them see them say, right, it's so much people out there in this weather, and it's not snowing. I just little rain. You're not gonna melt. So show up. We have ponchos. We're going to give away free ponchos, so you'll be sheltered. Thug. I was just looking at the meeting. It says thug is a man who acts violently, especially to commit a crime. Maybe I should sue them for calling me a thug because I'm not a violent person and I haven't committed a crime. But this is how they're describing me. They say I'm vindictive. Vindictive means a strong desire for revenge intended to cause pain or anguish. And if that's the case, I'm an equal opportunity vindictive person, because if having a strong desire for revenge, then I should have my revenge on both the PNP and the JLP. So I have no idea where these people are coming from a place of insecurity. They're not coming from a place of logic. They're not coming from a place of looking at what's best for Jamaica. And I am willing to sit down with people, even though some of my friends say, no, you can't sit down with them people. But no, I believe in talking and that it can work your issues out. In fact, I just got hired today to do a mediation for somebody. So I believe in that. But let me just say this, and I'll end with this. To the government officials listening, there are three conditions to our sitting down. One is that just because you say we're going to sit and talk, or we're planning to do that, we are not stopping. We are continuing with our plan. And should there come a time where we meet, but we're going to continue. We're not going to delay, slow. No, you're not going to impede us. The second thing is, if we sit at the table, we sit as equals, not as subordinates. Not the way you treat the Global Jamaica Diaspora, that illegitimate, unregistered movement. No, you're not going to treat us like that. We sit in a position of strength now, pretty much as you. And the third thing, and there'll be no retreat, no surrender, nothing regarding this third point. We will not have government presence, influence, direction on the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council. That body, anybody representing the diaspora, is supposed to be autonomous and is supposed to be independent. We cannot have government influence as we do now, where 3 of the 4 people running the organization, they're government officials. We cannot have that. We will not have that. And if that is a condition to starting the conversation, then we will not have a conversation. Thank you for having me, sir.
Mr. Sutherland, one last point. Delia Walker Huntington wrote an article in the Gleaner recently. I recommend it for persons to read about what she has to say about this diaspora and engagement and all of that type of thing.
And Ambassador Ward wrote a similar article.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for sharing this platform with me tonight.
Thanks again, and have a good evening, gentlemen.
And I must say, Dr. Paul Ivy, it is indeed a pleasure to share space with you. And I'm not too far away from naming you a resident participant on this platform. I really love to have you. And I get a lot of feedback from people and how much they like the things that come from your mouth.
Well, thank you very much. I hope
I just want to say, keep up the good work.
Thank you. I hope they read my books. I have to give it a plug. I hope they read my books. My thoughts are similarly expressed in my books.
Okay, sir. So again, thank you, Mr. Rattigan. It is indeed a pleasure, always. And see you.
Pleasure's mine.
Yeah, man. So we see you soon. Yeah, Dr. Francis. Bye. Take care.
Good night. Good night, gentlemen. Take care.
Yeah, cool. Bye. Hello?
Mr. Dennis, good night.
Good night. How you doing?
I'm all right, you know, we just catch the program, you know, Lord, and it done for me.
Yeah, the program done for you. But anyways, I just want to, let me just tell the people to like, share, and subscribe and be a part of a great platform.
Yeah,
so what you have to say, what you want to close out with?
As we go, me want to talk to Ratty. There's a good thing happened to me too, Mr. Ratty. Me want to tell him, call him back, man.
In Ghana.
Call him back, man. 1 minute.
I don't know how to call him back.
Because it helped me and I want to make the world know, say, then can't stop my panel, you know.
Tell me how Ratty help you then, and then.
I was on this program. And the calling and we are talk. I mean, I tell you, when me look at my life at Jamaica, I hear people are talk about this and that. Brother, let me tell you, we are tough out here. It's only because we are Jamaican and we resilient and we know we cut and pace. You understand?
Right.
And I call and you know, say a lady reach out to me. Me never little boy, me little last boy, my 30, my father passed. And yesterday, they get 2 barrels.
Wow.
They get 2 barrels, Mr. Sutherland. 2 barrels.
From being on Mr. Rattigan show.
Yes, the lady know Mr. Rattigan from way back when them used to be. Right? And the lady sent 2 barrels. I'm gonna get it earlier, but because of the bridge, collapse of the bridge.
Right.
So we get it all back. And me tell you, yes, a man. There is nothing short. I want to tell him and everybody thanks. Me say, from a pin to an anchor. The woman put pot, him put plate, him put spoon, him put.
Well, see what called me a Tina. Well, Mr. Ratty, one lady Carleen threw us as the show in, and she has said she did want to tell you thanks personally because she get 2 barrels and a result of being on your show.
Oh yeah, the lady there, yeah.
I am.
have to pay the ship for some money too.
Yeah, I'm currently talking to her, so let me call you back in a few, sir.
Sure, no problem.
All right, cool.
Tell him to call me.
Yeah, I'll tell him when I call him, he get cut off. I tell him to call. But there are many platforms that I want to. There are many platforms that out here that doing some greatness, highlighting some serious topic. We call it Make We Talk with Jeffrey.
All of them, they know me, man. They know me. That me just get your one. Me subscribe to Make We Talk, Aromatic, Rattigan, I start, Ian Lonesome.
Okay.
All of them, man.
Okay.
Waterhouse Vibes.
Right.
Sometimes me there work, anything me not get live, me replay, me subscribe, me share. Yes, man, they know me. They might know me by face, but they know me.
All
right.
right.
So while me I go through now, I see me turn on the TV. I mean, look, me see Ratty on the show. I mean, say, no, sir. I mean, just look at me the number.
Okay.
Is it on WhatsApp?
Yeah, man. You can always reach me on that number, and people could always call during the show too. It's just that I have to manage it because sometimes we're in the middle of some discussion and I can't take calls. But probably I should flash it up in the last part when I'm able to take calls. But for now, yeah, that's the number. And again, thank you for calling, and we'll continue to do it. Yeah?
Me tell you, the whole out, me can't call out the name and call out the whole out aromatic mystic.
Me,
The work what no I do.
me
It
get
will
one other
go down in
call.
a history. The
Me,
work what you're doing,
thank you
it
very
will go
much.
down in a history.
Me,
When you rescue Jamaica.
yeah, man, blessings
Thank
here.
you.
Me take another call. Yeah, cool. Caller, you live.
Mr. Sutherland, this is Jeffrey Tavares. How are you doing, sir?
Hey,
Great
Jeffrey, how
show.
you doing? You are live on the show, so just thank.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, blessings, sir. How you doing?
Yeah, I am doing good. I must say you had a great show, man. Great show this evening.
Yes, sir.
And you know, I must commend you on the great work that you're doing and continue doing the great work. Let's continue fighting for that piece of rock that we call home,
Yes, sir.
the gem
Yes,
of
sir.
the
Yes, sir.
Caribbean.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm doing that, and thank you for reaching out. I'm always on your show listening to because that's how I get some education as to what's going on. Because you have a broader platform than mine, and a lot of information I grasp from your show so that I could use it, apply some of those information to my platform. You know, so thank you
Thank you very much, man.
and you are doing a
Yeah,
great
man.
job yourself.
Thank you. And I must invite you on my program. Anytime you're ready, you can let me know. This is my number. I mean, I have your number, so I'm gonna call you back and everything like that.
Yes,
so
sir.
remember that Friday we're gonna be in New York on Friday, so we'll meet up and chat.
Yeah, man. Definitely, I'll be there.
Yes.
All right. Take care and thanks for calling, son. Keep up the good work. We have to press on. We have to press on. And I'm telling you, what we're doing, we are much more effective than we think.
Indeed, my friend.
Yes, sir.
God
Yes,
bless.
Sir. God bless us all. Take care.
Okay, bye-bye.
One love.
Bye.
So there you have it. I just spoke to one of the powerhouse and in the space of media, Jeffrey Tavares, who is doing a great job, and many others. Jamaica Carlos and Wayne some many others are doing a great job in highlighting the issues in Jamaica. And I hope Jamaicans can see the cry, you know, and I know many of them are crying, but they don't have nowhere to go and cry. But let me tell you something. These are platforms that you could come on, be a part of the discussion, and cry out. Let people know the pain you're feeling. You know what I'm saying? And not only just people know, it is falling in the right ears because the government is hearing us. Good job to you all. Thanks again for to Mr. Rattigan and Dr. Paul Ivy, and of course Dr. Rupert Francis. Ms. Yvonne Nemard was here with us, but she had to run. But I must say thank you to her for being a part of the greatness. She did not participate as much, but she will because she is a part of the movement. Guys, good night. Take care. Look out. You will see us on Friday because I'll be broadcasting live on Friday. I'll be there as media. I'm going to the protest as media. So, guys, see you on Friday. And of course, next week, Wednesday, we'll talk about what transpired during the course of the protest. I hate to go, but I have to go. Blessings to you all. I want to even name out some of these names, but it's so Anthony R., Everton Jarrett, and all them people. I just can't do it. It's just a Catherine Daly, Megawatt Volt, you know, all them people, Petra, and you all. Blessings to you all. Thank you for being a part of the show and looking forward to see you guys again. Like, share, and of course, subscribe so that we can. And also hit the notification bell so that when we're live, you could get the notice. All right, take care. Peace out. Thank you for being a part of us tonight. Enough love. God bless you all.